This vocab question is a little tricky. Most people kind of understand what they're trying to say, so it's not really about the vocab, but there are answer choices that are a little too similar, and that can be hard. So first and foremost, let's make sure that we're following the right method here. We don't want to just define the words lead to. We want to make sure we use the context to guide us. So let's go to the passage here. And I read a little bit before because sometimes there's some clues that can kind of help me understand what I'm trying to say here. So it says, the initial attraction between the tip and salt might be due to electrostatic forces, perhaps good old van der Waals interactions, the researchers speculate. Several mechanisms might lead to the elasticity, including the excessive surface tension found in the nanoworld, the same tension that allows a water strider to skim the surface of a pond. So here, my guess for what they're trying to say is that lead to is something like cause. And that's because they're talking about something being due to something else, or the surface tension that allows the water strider to skim the surface of a pond. So maybe we say another guess is like something like that several mechanisms might allow the elasticity. It's tricky, but I understand what they're trying to say. It's causing it. Now, if we go to the choices and try to match with that, I think right away one answer just doesn't make a lot of sense. Start with. Several mechanisms might start with the elasticity. First of all, that sounds weird, but it's not like we're trying to list events in order. We're trying to get across the idea of cause and effect, and so that phrasing just doesn't quite match. And it sounds weird if we try to put it back in because it's not capturing the relationship. For the other ones, it gets a little trickier. I think they're very similar. The next one that I don't like is something like guide to. I guess it's because I'm taking that literally. And so words like guide and point toward, I'm picturing like a tour guide, someone pointing to specific things. And while sometimes we can talk that way metaphorically and get away with it in our writing, the purpose of these questions is not to be metaphorical. The choices are supposed to be as dead-on definitions as we can have. And so result in is much more of a dead-on synonym to cause, right? Something causes something else, something results in something else happening. It's a fit. And so that's my advice. If you're ever stuck between different choices on these questions, the best thing you can do is pick the one that is most literally the definition that you want. Yes, sometimes some of the other choices you could kind of massage into that spot because in a poem or literature, we might use them, like I said, as a metaphor or as a way to just kind of make our point in a more artistic way. But we're not trying to be artistic here. We are trying to just get the definition across. And so we want to kind of play it by the book. And so B, in this case, is a much more by the book definition of the word cause. And so that's what we'd want to go with. I hope that makes sense. That is maybe the kind of thing that is easier for someone who speaks English as their main language and not someone who's learned English as a second language. I get why that might be harder for you. This also kind of comes up sometimes on the writing section where there are certain words that we can use in certain situations and synonyms of those words don't work. Here we're kind of bleeding into that where we want to kind of pick the word that is really the closest fit for what we're trying to say without being artistic. Just play it by the book as best you can. If you got this wrong, I wouldn't beat yourself up over it, but I hope I can show you that there's some of the ways the SAT is kind of playing with these choices sometimes, and then on these hard ones, there are things that we need to consider that we might not always need to worry about for some of the easier ones. That's what I think is going on here.